I have a confession to make. After 5-6 years of owning Apple products, I think it's time to switch. And I've not made this decision lightly. And I want to sort of share my opinions on why I think this is the right time for an Apple user to consider Android and what has led me to make this decision. You might be wondering why I made the decision, or you might also be thinking just like me, maybe it's time to change. I think some of the reasons why I'm thinking of switching from Apple products, mainly iOS, to Android is because I just feel like there's just no innovation with Apple at the moment. The last big thing to come out of Apple was, yes, probably the M4 chips on the MacBook Pro, but for the iPhone 16 hasn't had a great review. I mean, the best feature was the camera control, and that's really flawed. The iOS 18, it's buggy. I mean, it's given us the customization, but it just feels a bit like the innovations at a standstill with Apple. And let's not talk about the Apple Intelligence, because everything was hyped last year with the Apple Intelligence, and I feel a bit like, do I need to wait for Apple to improve that, or is that everything that Apple's gonna be in terms of when it comes to the AI game? It just feels like after several years of using iPhone, everything just feels the same at this point. And also it feels a bit like I'm making a lot of compromises to use some of their products, and I'll list what they are. In terms of my daily drivers, I use the iPhone 15 Pro Max, I have an iPad, I have the M4 Pro MacBook Pro. Gosh, you could never get the names correct. So I use 3 devices, and then I also have the Apple Watch 8 series, and I've got quite a few accessories. But I just feel a bit like my relationship with the iPhone 15 has always been love and hate relationship. The battery issue for me has been one of the biggest issues. The first year, the battery was awful. The second year, with the release of iOS 18, the battery was okay-ish. I wanted to change it to the iPhone 16, but then I saw that the only thing that was different was camera control, and I didn't want a bigger screen. And now that I've started doing YouTube, I'm trying to keep track of many things in one go. When I spoke about compromise, one of the things that I compromised when switching from my S7, the Samsung S7 that I used to use, was the multitasking. I mean, it's quite shocking that Apple still haven't brought anything to the table for multitasking on the iPhone devices anyway. That's where I feel a bit like I made a lot of the compromises. Like, I'd like to be able to see the performances of my video, take some notes, and at the moment there's just a lot of switching between the apps. The file management sucks on iPhone. I mean, I'm not really sure what's going on. It's easier to actually plug in and find your phone and drag and drop the files that way, similar to how you would do on Android, but that doesn't really work. I often find myself plugging in and Mac's just looking dumb at me, like, what do you want me to do? When I plug in the wire, most of the time the Mac and iPhone doesn't recognize the wires. The only option available is either AirDrop, which takes too long for the larger files to be sent anyway. I mean, it will take long time for it to process, maybe 10 to 15 minutes. But once it's processed, it sends the file instantly. That's great. Everyone's spoken about the notifications, especially the notifications. I'd probably say improved recently, but still there's a long way to go. I don't know how Android does notifications, because I've not used Android in a long time, but I think it's probably going to be better based on what I read up online. And then Apple Intelligence, that's a nightmare. The summary of the notification seems to be all over the place. So for example, my doorbell sends me notifications every time someone triggers a camera, so the notification will often say someone in front of the door. But what Apple Intelligence does is it summarizes all of them together to say multiple people in front of the door. The first time when I seen it, I thought, oh my God, that's strange. There's loads of people turned up, but it's just getting silly. I mean, it's summary for the sake of summarizing it. There's still keyboard issues. I'm still hitting dot every time I'm hitting space when I'm searching for URLs. The switch from the Lightning port to the USB-C meant the Apple CarPlay completely doesn't work unless you use a premium made for iPhone chargers. They are quite pricey and expensive ones. Every time you switch the cameras, or when it tries to zoom in, when you're using third-party apps like WhatsApp, you want to take a close photo of something, that doesn't work. If you're using a supermarket app and you're trying to scan a barcode, it doesn't work because the camera doesn't switch between the right one, and it continues to struggle. So the list goes on, it's endless. It just almost feels like there's just so many sacrifices that I'm making for the sake of the ecosystem. Yes, the ecosystem is nice when it works, but it's also one of the most expensive ecosystems. So why Samsung and not any other Android devices? Drop me a comment if you want me to actually do a video on this S1 to sort of have a recap. And then also, if you're here this far, do drop a sub to the channel, because I'm so close. Only 300 subs needed for the 1,000 subscribers, and I think that'd be a really good milestone to achieve by the end of this month. The only other Android phones that I could think of, it's probably the Google Pixel, and Google Pixel is all about the camera, and I feel a bit like you cannot judge everything by the camera. If you just look at the camera, iPhone is probably the best bet, because I still think it's the best camera in the market. But the biggest factor in me choosing Samsung as my next device is my use of the S9 tablet. I bought the S9 tablet several months ago and I completely ignored it, and I've started using it because I wanted to do a review. And then I started to miss the multitasking, and then I started to miss the complete powerhouse it can be. So here are some of the reasons why I am focusing on the S25. Mainly because the S25 Ultra comes with a pen, which I could use to probably write notes. I think this is where Apple is kind of lagging behind, because they are not offering anything outside of the phone. I think Samsung offers the true multitasking, two apps open in split screen view, or you can have this little pop-up that keeps a lot of the app open, or the side swipe to bring quite a lot of the things in. And I think I'm at a point where I think multitasking will improve my lifestyle and improve the way how I use the phone and speed things up in terms of my in terms of everything that I do with the devices. And there was a Samsung DeX, and the first time I used Samsung DeX, my mind was blown. Like the fact that you could turn your phone into a computer, all you just need is a screen. I thought that's really good. And I think by turning it into a computer, it addresses the other issue. Android has a great file management. You can move files, you can copy files from memory card to the phone quite easily. But the fact that you can turn the DeX just gives you a PC view, just makes it feel a bit like it's literally overpowered over the other Android devices. And then also the accessories, right? Like I'm no longer bound to one company. I can buy a watch that's compatible with Android devices. That just means not only I have access to more accessories, but they're also cheaper. It allows me to probably buy more, do a lot of the review and share a lot of my feedback. And then lastly, the AI. It feels like everyone waited an entirety for Apple to actually release the Apple Intelligence in like little batches, but it's a mess at the moment. On Android, you get the circle to search, you get quite a few things, and I feel a bit like where the AI game is, I feel a bit like Android and Samsung are doing a better job of the AI. I feel like the pen would come handy when I'm searching, circle to search, or if I'm copy pasting. I think where AI is, I'm done waiting for Apple to do the thing. So yeah, just to sum it all up, this video might sound like a rant, this video might sound very boring, and I'm very sorry about that, but I do feel like as an iPhone user, it is the best year to actually switch or consider something else. Decide what you want to do with the money, right? Like, yes, if these are solid devices, there's nothing wrong with them. Once I switched over, I was completely fine for around 8 years time. But make sure you're always in control of your money, and you're always in control of where you spend the money. If you keep spending the money on devices that you're not happy with, you're actually contributing to the lack of innovation. That's how I see it myself. And by breaking free, I am able to probably enjoy the development of the technology a lot more, see what's on the other side, and enjoy best of both worlds. You can always build ecosystems in other places. You can also have an Android ecosystem, or you can have a Windows ecosystem. I mean, whoever wants to do a Windows ecosystem, I don't know, but you get the point. I don't really care about customization, because iOS 18 has provided customization for days and nights, right? You can tint your screen, you can change how you want. And the last thing is, right, the funniest of all is even Android tries to copy iPhone in terms of the looks. I think the latest Samsung devices will look a lot like the iOS device when you look at the body, and even the main screen at the front on Android now look like iPhone, including the fonts. So I don't think there will be a massive shock when I change. And everyone's copying everyone. So if you know that Apple's copying a lot of things from Android, and Android is copying a lot of things from iPhone, maybe it is not too bad to switch. Anyway, that's all I wanted to share. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit the like button, do subscribe. I'm very close to the 1,000 subscribers. It'd be super awesome if I could hit that this month. I think that is a good motivating factor. By the way, if you guys are interested in giveaways to celebrate the 1,000 subscribers when I eventually hit them, do drop a comment on this video, then I'll organize something. It might be just an Amazon gift voucher or whatever. We can decide what that is. But yeah, I wish you all a great day and week ahead. Speak to you later. The initial reason for me to leave Samsung was it's a bloody dirty phone.